Hey, thank you for tuning into my channel. I make weekly art tutorials, paint-alongs and vlogs, and today I'm going to be doing an amalgamation of all three by taking you with me as I go and paint this quaint little cafe and talk you through the essential supplies that I used for urban sketching. I hope that this video will inspire you to go out there and explore your own city or your own town and to create some wonderful pieces of art. If I can go from how I felt about anyone even knowing that I enjoy art to painting outside in public in one of the busiest and most expensive places in London by myself, then I think that there is truly hope for everyone. So yeah, sit back and enjoy. So this cafe was near Harrods, which is what I'm showing you here now. And those of you who follow me on Instagram or have seen my other videos will know that I'm trying to explore London a bit more and really just get more familiar with places that are around me that I wouldn't have gone to otherwise. And part of that was this cafe. So initially, if I'm completely honest, I was quite underwhelmed by the outside and I almost like walked past it, but I'd heard some really good things about it and so I decided to go inside. And when I went inside, I was very, very pleasantly surprised by how pretty it was and how different like the decor inside was. So I basically wanted to do a piece that would encapsulate the three different areas that were my favorite places. So there was kind of a seating area on the left, then the middle where the peacock was, and then by the end. I mean, is it technically an urban sketch? I think so, because I painted it there and it's of the area that I was in. But yeah, in theory the perspective is wrong, but it's the perfect reminder of my time there, so I really don't mind. In terms of the supplies that I tend to carry when I go urban sketching, it's essentially a pencil. So this can either be a mechanical pencil with a rubber or a traditional HB pencil, in which case you'll also need a sharpener as well as a rubber or eraser. I usually start off my pieces by doing like a rough sketch in pencil just to get my ideas down, and then from there I go over it with an ink pen. So I prefer using uni pens, but any pen that is waterproof will essentially do, because I tend to do pencil, then ink, and then watercolor over it. I primarily use the 0.2 nib size uni pin pens, a Fineliner which is waterproof and archival and relatively well priced. I do carry around 3 sizes in total just in case I want to use something different. So 0.2 is my go-to, then I have 0.5 size which is slightly thicker, and then 0.8 which is the thickest that I would use. At this point I had a good idea as to what I wanted to paint and where everything's going to go, and despite having little time and lots to paint, I decided to stop and basically to enjoy the ambiance and actually enjoy the food and relax. And those who've watched my other videos will know that I did this before as well, and the food was delicious, the music was great, the atmosphere was amazing, and I'll remember that every time that I look at this painting now. So going back to the supplies that you need: a pencil, a rubber, a sharpener. I don't tend to use rulers for the most part, but sometimes I do, if maybe to measure, but I do like how almost like how imperfect the lines are when you don't use a ruler. So anyway, you'll notice I didn't use a ruler when doing these lines, but I do carry one just in case. Next supplies that I use are the Cotman watercolour set, which I love not only because it has so many colours, but also it's handy to carry around and it has a groove for my paintbrush. I carry my Cotman set in an extra long pencil case that I got from Sainsbury's for I think £1, just to protect my belongings from potential paint spills. In there I also have a piece of card with swatches from my Cotman set so I can keep track of all the colours, and a napkin to wipe off excess water. I tend to carry one paintbrush when doing watercolour paintings, and that is my Princeton Aqua Elite size 12 paintbrush, just because I find it's a size that tends to work best for me. It's not too big, not too small, and it can come to a fine tip if I do feel like I need to add those extra bits of details. So it gives me the control that I need. There's a number of different brushes that you can have. You can have travel brushes like this, that essentially fit into this small pouch or fit into your pencil case, and also the bristles stay safe. Or you can use what we call an aqua pen. You fill the brush with water here and then you use this to paint, essentially squeezing to add water to your paint. But those are the three options: a travel brush, a normal brush in a safe way of carrying it, or an aqua pen brush. The next art supply that I carry around with me is a small jar of water. It's one of these jars. It's quite small, it's easy to carry. Obviously, one of the drawbacks of this is that if you're doing a lot of painting, because it's quite small, you'll have to change the water more often, which will mean that you will need to be near some sort of water supply or carry a water bottle or something. And this way I'm really minimizing the amount of waste that I do. The other art supply that I tend to carry is a clamp. And that's one of these like ballpoint clamps, and I basically use them if I'm painting outside and if it's windy, just to keep my paper still, especially if I'm using my sketchbook. It just makes my life so much easier. So I recommend carrying that as well, at least 2 of them for each side of the paper. In terms of watercolor paper, I tend to carry loose sheets as well as my sketchbooks, just in case. What I use will very much depend on how I'm feeling at the moment and what I'm going to paint, what's captivated my interest. Is it something that I just want to do a loose sketch of, and is it something that I think I can do as a finished piece? Let me know down below in the comments if you do a similar thing, but I basically have a number of different sketchbooks on the go at the same time, each sketchbook kind of featuring a different set of things. So that being said, sometimes if I want to paint something that I feel won't really go with the aesthetic, or I want to have something completely separate, I use my loose sheets for that, and that's why I always have some loose watercolor sheets in my sketchbook so that I can use them for whatever I want, basically. Other supplies that I tend to use include a napkin or something to dab off excess water, and I tend to find that sometimes, and don't judge me too harshly, but sometimes if I go to like a really nice hotel or a nice restaurant, they'll actually have cotton napkins in the bathroom, which are disposable, and they are actually quite nice. They can absorb so much paint. If I'm there and I see, then I might get like 1 or 2, just because I know that they'll last a long time. An alternative could be having a piece of cloth, is something to add highlights, either a white gel pen or a white Posca pen. And this video is as much for you as it is for me, because I have this huge tendency to just like to carry absolutely everything, just in case I need it, which isn't a great practice if you're doing urban sketching and if you're going to be sketching on the go, because there's just extra things that you have to carry. So this is just a reminder of the things that I need, or that potentially you need, or things that I actually go to and I actually use in spite of how much I may put in my bag. These are the things that I need. And here I'm just putting the final touches to the painting. So as I mentioned, I was painting parts of the 3 different areas that most caught my eye, and I started off by doing a loose sketch of what I wanted to take in, and then inking it with a waterproof pen, and then finally adding watercolor. My color choices were pretty much the colors that I was seeing around, but I didn't want to get bogged down in the extra details. It was more just kind of catching the essence of what I was seeing. There were just so many different things that I wanted to paint and I thought I could paint, but time didn't allow. So maybe I will go back and then find another corner to paint. But that's essentially pretty much it: like a pencil, a rubber, a sharpener, an ink pen, a ruler, paint set, and you can either have the full paint set or make your own mini set, paint brushes, a napkin, a jar, clips. I tend to also like carrying a bag hook so that my bag doesn't touch the floor, it just hangs to the side. And the only other thing that I would add that is by no means an essential but is quite helpful is having a phone with a tripod. Mine is from Amazon for £13, and a phone head, which mine is from a selfie stick for £1, so total £14, and then a phone, just because sometimes it's so nice to record your actual painting process and then looking back on it. Sometimes, especially when you're really engrossed in a painting, you're not taking note of what exactly you're doing or what is working or what hasn't worked, and having a video to look back on can just be super helpful for that. So that's a little tip or something to consider. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed the video and found it helpful and at the very least entertaining. Thank you for everyone who subscribed. I really appreciate you. Let me know down below in the comments if you got to the end of the video so that I can give you a very special thank you by letting me know how many sketchbooks, if any, you use at one time. It was a cafe near Harrods. I did kind of like take a picture with the lights, but I didn't brave it in. But maybe one day I'll go in and paint. Well, actually no, there's no way they'll let me paint in there, but maybe one day I'll go in and take a look around.